Kiss Cam is known for its heartwarming moments, but it caught an awkward one at a Coldplay concert.
Caught out.
Oh, look at these two.
In a moment these lovers won't ever forget.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
And one the world can't stop talking about. Kiss Cam at a Coldplay gig in Boston. He's the CEO of a software startup. She's head of his HR department. And their reactions said it all. They had something to hide. The clip everyone is talking about except for two people who have the most explaining to do.
I would pay to be a fly on the wall in the office.
And this is pretty viral stuff. Or do we have to get HR involved? I mean, I know that HR was involved.
The moral of the story here is don't get caught on Kiss Cam.
They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But what happens on the Kiss Cam at a Coldplay concert? That goes viral in every time zone. One billionaire tech CEO. One head of HR. One moment on the jumbotron that torched a marriage, tanked a company, and turned a Silicon Valley golden boy into a walking meme. The guy thought he was just sneaking in a kiss. Instead, he handed his wife a $35 million divorce and possibly the most public humiliation since the internet began. But here's the part that'll really twist your stomach. His wife wasn't blindsided. She'd been planning his takedown for months. And once you find out how far she went, who she hired, what she uncovered, and how she flipped the script, you'll realize this wasn't just a scandal. This was a strategic assassination in heels.
And the tidbit is, that's not his wife.
His mistress and colleague is Kristen Kebut.
And can we talk about the employee that was with them? She obviously knows what's going on because she's there.
Before the Coldplay concert, before the Kiss Cam disaster, Byron was the guy everyone in tech wanted to be or be around. At just 41, he'd built a $70 million fortune running a rising star startup called Astronomer. His LinkedIn read like a tech fairy tale: keynote speaker, board advisor, angel investor. And the cherry on top? A picture-perfect family. His wife, Byron, wasn't just a trophy spouse. She was sharp, stylish, and ran her own wellness brand with a loyal following. Together, they had 3 kids, a luxury home in Palo Alto, and an Instagram that looked like it was sponsored by private jets and Amalfi sunsets. They were Silicon Valley's golden couple. Front row at charity galas, sipping champagne with VCs, dropping pearls of marriage wisdom on podcasts. They even did matching family Halloween costumes. To everyone watching, they were untouchable. But behind all the glitz, something was brewing. And no one, not even their closest friends, saw what was coming. Because while the world was liking their family photos, Andy was planning a double life. Landed on them, they didn't hesitate. They kissed. Big. Public. Shameless. The crowd cheered. Chris Martin from Coldplay leaned into the mic. Let's see some love. And boy, did we. But the internet noticed something off. That woman? Definitely not his wife. In seconds, phones were recording. Clips started hitting TikTok and Reddit. And by the time the concert ended, millions had seen the video. Kristen wasn't some random side piece. She was literally in charge of preventing this exact kind of scandal. Her job was to manage workplace relationships and ethical conduct. Instead, she became Exhibit A in the most viral HR disaster in tech history. And just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, people started digging. The moment that kiss went viral, Andy and Kristen did what every scandal-plagued exec thinks will work. They tried to clean it up online. It failed. Instantly. At exactly 11:47 p.m. the night of the concert, Kristen Kebut's entire LinkedIn profile vanished. Gone. 8 years of company history. Over 15,000 connections. Like, she was trying to erase herself from the internet. Problem is, the internet doesn't forget. And neither do Reddit detectives. Within hours, people found company expense reports, VIP tickets to the concert charged to the corporate card, hotel bookings at the St. Regis, Uber receipts showing separate pickups, but the same drop-off. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash, with every detail broadcast in real time. And it wasn't just gossip. This was evidence. Company funds used for a personal affair? That's not messy, it's legally dangerous. The comments lit up. He really tried to expense his side chick? She deleted her LinkedIn like we wouldn't notice? This is corporate espionage with Coldplay as the soundtrack. And if you think Meghan, the wife, was in the dark during all this, you're about to find out she was 10 steps ahead of everyone. While Andy was making out on camera and Kristen was nuking her LinkedIn, Meghan Byron was already in motion. She didn't rage post. No crying Instagram stories. No messy callouts. Instead, within 24 hours, she executed the kind of digital divorce few could pull off with this much precision. She changed her name across every platform, from Meghan Byron to Meg Carrion, dropping his last name like dead weight. She deleted every photo of them together from the past 2 years. Then, she went dark. Deactivated her Instagram. Blocked Andy. Ghosted the world. The internet didn't just notice, they crowned her. She's the blueprint. This is how you handle betrayal. She just Thanos snapped that man out of her life. But here's the twist that made jaws drop. Meghan already knew. Sources close to the family say she'd suspected something for months. So back in October, she quietly hired a private investigator. She'd been collecting receipts, watching from the shadows, waiting. So when the Kiss Cam aired, she didn't panic. She pressed play on a plan she'd been perfecting for nearly a year. And while the internet was still laughing at Andy, Meghan was getting ready to bury him in court. Turns out, Meghan Byron didn't get blindsided. She set the trap. Back in October, nearly 8 months before the Coldplay fiasco, Meghan hired a private investigator. Quietly. No paper trail. No hint to Andy. While he was playing house in public and sneaking around in private, she was collecting evidence. The PI tracked credit card activity, hotel bookings, emails, even calendar overlaps. Everything Kristen and Andy thought was discreet was documented. So when the Kiss Cam went viral, Meghan didn't freak out, she flipped the switch. And it wasn't just divorce lawyers she called. Her legal team started preparing a full-scale corporate assault. Because Andy wasn't just cheating. He was allegedly stealing from the company to fund it. And that opened the door for something way bigger than a breakup. Behind the scenes, Meghan's lawyers began drafting a strategy to financially and legally dismantle him, and they weren't playing nice. While Andy was still trending on TikTok, Meghan had already secured her own forensic accountant, begun filing for discovery of company spending, prepped subpoenas for emails, texts, and travel records. And she wasn't just going after alimony. She wanted restitution. Damages. A legal reckoning that would leave Andy with more than a broken heart. Because Meghan Byron didn't just want to win. She wanted to make sure he'd never be in power again. The kiss was just the spark. What came next? Total detonation. Within days, Andy Byron was put on indefinite leave, corporate speak for "we're figuring out how to fire you without a lawsuit." Astronomers' board went into panic mode, investors started bailing, and the company's once sterling image turned radioactive. And then came Kristen Kebut. Turns out, her role in the scandal went far beyond kissing the boss. Multiple employees started speaking out, anonymously at first, then louder. Kristen, while head of HR, had allegedly been hooking up Andy's friends with inflated promotions and fat raises. We're talking $2 million in suspicious compensation decisions traced back to her office. Some even claimed she shared private employee information with Andy, details that could lead to serious federal violations if proven true. The company's "People First" slogan? Quietly scrubbed from the website. The internal culture? Shattered. Morale plummeted. Clients ghosted meetings. And job offers once celebrated were now being turned down cold. Kristen, the person hired to protect the company from HR disasters, had become the disaster. And just like that, Astronomer, once a rising star in tech, was now a cautionary tale. But while the company burned, the internet was throwing gas on the flames. Once the clip hit the internet, it spread like wildfire. But what happened next? No one could have predicted. TikTok was flooded with reenactments. A Reddit thread ballooned into a 47-page Google Doc tracking every receipt, every deleted photo, every suspicious Venmo transaction. And someone, probably with way too much time, made a Spotify playlist titled "Songs to Divorce Your Cheating CEO Husband To." It now has over 2 million followers. Meanwhile, hashtags like hashtag Coldplay Karma and hashtag Meghan Byron Revenge dominated the feed. Coldplay Karma, 89 million views. Meghan Byron Revenge, 156 million and counting. Even Coldplay's social team started liking the memes. But for all the jokes, one thing stood out: the kids. Classmates were making parody videos. Edits of the kiss cam moment with dramatic music were trending on YouTube Shorts. Their dad wasn't just in trouble, he'd become a global punchline. And their mom? She was being worshipped like Beyoncé at the Met Gala. The Byron family hadn't just gone viral. They'd become a digital soap opera with no off button. And while the world was laughing, Andy Byron was breaking. While the memes kept climbing and the hashtags kept trending, Andy Byron was unraveling. According to sources close to the family, the once polished CEO had become a ghost. Friends say he's barely sleeping, won't leave the house, keeps muttering the same phrase on repeat. One mistake, and everything's gone. This was a man who built his entire identity around control: perfect CEO, perfect father, perfect husband. And now, in 48 hours, he'd lost all three. Even his own mother reportedly unfollowed him on Facebook. Meanwhile, Kristen Kebut? Gone. No apology. No statement. No damage control. Just vanished. Her neighbors told reporters she packed up in the middle of the night. Some say she's hiding at a family member's place. Others think she left the country entirely. The woman who was supposed to handle HR crises became the biggest HR scandal in tech history and then disappeared like she never existed. Inside the walls of Astronomer, chaos. Outside, a man spiraling, a woman in hiding, and an ex-wife preparing to finish the job. Because if you thought $35 million was the end of it, you haven't seen what her lawyers are planning next. By now, everyone knew Andy Byron was cooked. But Meghan Byron wasn't stopping at divorce. Her legal team came in swinging, not just for money, but for blood. They weren't just seeking a split of assets. They were going after misuse of company funds, hostile work environment claims, breach of fiduciary duty, and possibly criminal charges. They're reportedly preparing to subpoena everything: emails, texts, Slack messages, hotel invoices, company reimbursements, even Andy's browser history. Why? Because if they can prove that Andy used company resources to fund his affair, or that Kristen's role influenced hiring and salary decisions, this becomes more than messy. It becomes a federal investigation. Legal analysts are already calling this one of the costliest public divorces in Silicon Valley history, with potential SEC probes and years of litigation ahead. And here's the kicker: Meghan's team might even push for emotional distress damages. Because this wasn't just betrayal. It was public humiliation on a global stage, streamed into her living room while she sat with their 3 kids. You can't unsee that. You can't undo it. But in court, you can bill it. And if all this plays out like her lawyers intend, Andy Byron might not just lose his fortune. He could lose everything. It started with a kiss. One impulsive, arrogant, ego-fueled moment on a jumbotron. Now, Andy Byron's name is a punchline. Kristen Kebut is unemployable. Their company? Crumbling. And Meghan Byron? She just flipped the script, going from humiliated wife to icon of revenge with the internet cheering her on. But beneath all the memes and TikToks and playlists are 3 kids watching their world collapse. A family ripped apart, not by one mistake, but by months of lies, secrets, and arrogance. Andy Byron thought he was untouchable. He forgot the one rule every CEO should know by now: the internet never forgets. So, here's the question: could you survive if your worst moment became a global meme? Let me know in the comments. Speech balloon: does Meghan Byron deserve every cent of that $35 million? Firecracker, or did the internet go too far? And if you think Coldplay Karma came right on time, smash that like, hit subscribe, and stay tuned. Because Silicon Valley? It's messier than ever. And we'll be right here with all the receipts.